Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream, and thank you so much for tuning in for another show. Welcome to all of our members, subscribers, and viewers from all across the world. Tonight, I will talk to you about the latest statements and accusations coming from Benjamin Netanyahu, this time against none other than the Israeli media, blaming the vast majority of the Israeli media for operating as propaganda arms for Hamas and censoring him as a prime minister. Then we'll move on to the serious statements that are coming out from the opposition leader about threats of an internal war now actually taking place with Jews killing Jews, according to him, after more and more threats are coming from members of the public in Israel and people who are very close to Benjamin Netanyahu and his ministers, threatening to outright kill and calling to kill the Israeli head of the Shin Bet, Ronen Bar. And then we will go to the latest videos that were published by the Palestinian resistance from the past several days of actions against the genocide forces inside of the Gaza Strip. But we're going to begin with none other than Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu, he had a statement yesterday. He had a recorded speech, televised speech where he said a few things about the war, the genocide in Gaza, updates about it, what's happening, what Israel needs to do, and that Israel shouldn't be stopping up until they achieve full victory. The typical propaganda of Benjamin Netanyahu with his, tone trying to sound convincing, at least to his cult followers, and that Israel was going to have to continue the war. They're not going to give in to the Hamas conditions. If they're going to give in now, it's going to be total failure. And with the Israeli support and the people, and they're going to reach towards victory eventually. The typical garbage coming from Benjamin Netanyahu. But something happened. Something happened. Well, lots of the Israeli media, they did not publish all of this statement coming from Benjamin Netanyahu. And now he is actually blaming them with outright censorship. He went on X saying that the Israeli media, in particular, he's saying the Israeli Broadcasting Authority main channel 11 plus 12 plus 13, so all channels apart from his mouthpiece channel 14 in Israel, are propaganda arms for Hamas, spreading Hamas propaganda, i.e. supporting Hamas, and they are censoring the prime minister. Why is he saying that? He's saying that because they didn't publish all of his speech. It's pathetic anyway, but they didn't publish all of his speech, and some of them cut it short, and some of them only published a summary about him. Firstly, no one is obliged to have a whole speech of a prime minister, right? It was again recorded. He refused to take questions from the press in such a pressing and important moment, and he was heavily criticized for that. Usually, if he wants to have like a press conference, recorded or non-recorded, he will have a few questions and publish it later on, unless it's of course live. Now in Israel, they've had very embarrassing press conferences previously with the previous cabinet members refusing to sit with each other, like when the previous defense minister was refusing to have a joint press conference with him, like what was with Gantz and the rest of the members of the cabinet. And it was very embarrassing for him. But now he's even afraid to go out on his own and speak to the Israeli media, to Israeli reporters who will ask him questions. He didn't want to take any questions. And therefore, he made his statement quite irrelevant, typical propaganda that he's spewing on television, recorded, trying to portray himself as if he is victorious and going ahead towards victory. At the time where Israel is admitting now, finally, that they are, well, getting a beating in Gaza with confirmed killings. Okay. What did that make Benjamin Netanyahu say? It led him to start saying that, oh no, these people are Hamas propagandists. They support Hamas. Imagine reaching a stage where a prime minister of a country accuses the same media that has been whitewashing and supporting a genocide for the past 2 years, well, approximately 2 years, of being supportive of the enemy. I mean, you have to be a person who's out of your mind, and you can't be totally sane saying these things. This is a prime minister at the end of the day in the state of Israel. But this shows you again the levels of psychopathy of this man. This man is not normal, reaching a stage where you blame the Israeli Broadcasting Authority and the majority of the Israeli media of being Hamas now. I mean, we understand in Gaza, everyone is Hamas, of course. You know, the ants are Hamas, the flies are Hamas, the sand is Hamas, sea is Hamas, the nano micro atoms are Hamas. But Israel, everyone is Hamas now, Israel. But this is showing you also the level of conflict happening in Israel, and the level of tensions and the level of division happening in the state of Israel. And this was something that was mentioned by the opposition leader Yair Lapid, who came up with a very dangerous statement. Yair Lapid, the head of the opposition, he has been critical of Benjamin Netanyahu, and he was calling him to resign. He offered him a safety net if he reaches a ceasefire agreement, saying that it's more important to reach a ceasefire agreement, and we're willing to provide a safety net for Benjamin Netanyahu, a safety net that Benjamin Netanyahu himself, by the way, outright declined, because he didn't want to be in the mercy of the opposition, the people who have tested him before. He doesn't want someone to backstab him. He prefers to be with the most extreme people inside of Israel and have them in the government and continue with the genocide for his own political purposes, not for the security of Israel, not to defeat the Hamas, none of the even declared objectives that he set out for the war. What is Yair Lapid saying now? Yair Lapid is saying, and that's also in relation to the sacking of Ronen Bar. Lots of this was surrounding Ronen Bar, the head of the Shin Bet, who Netanyahu is finding it difficult to sack now because of the Supreme Court position against him, and the Supreme Court refusing another urgent demand from Benjamin Netanyahu to sack Ronen Bar because of security matters, because of security concerns. Imagine that. He has been working with him for the past several years, and now he's saying he's a threat to the security of the state of Israel. A man who has been participating in a genocide, Bar, a man who has blood on his hands as well. Netanyahu is saying that he is a security threat to the state of Israel. Now, Yair Lapid is saying that there is intel information and there will be political assassination here. Jews will be killing Jews. And according to the statement of Yair Lapid is saying there is intel information clearly coming from the intelligence community, and there are certain statements coming out from people to threaten the head of the Shin Bet, Ronen Bar, who Netanyahu wants to sack. And he mentioned some of these people. He said, Yossi Ohayon said, this is the greatest traitor in the entire history of the Jewish people. Lior Nahorai Hayat said, without a doubt, hanging, as in hang him. Execution is a gift for you. You have to suffer until your last day. Another person says, death by hanging. Homies.com, execute him. Another person called David Yehudai, calling him the master of murderers. Ronen Bar, the greatest criminal. Ronen Bar, the greatest criminal, and he is a murderer, and we need to hang him. These are the statements that are coming. Other people calling him Nazi scum. Ronen Bar is the enemy of Israel. He is a cancer, breathing his last breaths. People calling him to be executed. His fate is sealed. Serious accusations coming from people and with intelligence information, according to Yair Lapid, that is a very massive threat and is warning from actual assassinations. And assassinations is something that happened before in Israel. The prime minister himself was killed, Rabin at the time, but for wanting peace, Now, there's something quite similar here. It's not that they're wanting peace, they're simply wanting to end a genocidal war that they don't necessarily disagree with the concept of, but the timing of it and the way it's being conducted, because it's not necessarily suitable for the state of Israel now. And according to the people criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu, he needs to prioritize bringing back the Israeli prisoners of war rather than continuing now. And of course, the people signing the petitions in Israel, over 140,000, over half of the Israeli army is refusing to serve. The head of the Israeli army, the IDF chief of staff, is saying that we are unable to achieve the objectives of the war as set by the political echelon based on the current situation. That's why they are opposing this. But the other side, the cult of Netanyahu, who is allowing an extreme tone, an extreme approach to be totally valid, is validating it in the state of Israel now. And according to Yair Lapid, this is going to lead to Jewish people killing Jewish people. This is not Arabs, this is not Hamas, this is not Hezbollah. These are Jewish people, and they will be killing Jewish people. And this is something very serious. And if you don't stop now, Benjamin Netanyahu, it's going to reach that stage. And again, he's not only basing it on certain statements from random people, he is basing it on intelligence information. Therefore, critical warnings coming from the opposition leader, and it shows you the state that Israel is in at the moment. Moving on to the next subject. The Palestinian resistance had multiple very big and effective attacks against the terrorist forces of the state of Israel inside of the Gaza Strip, conducting massacres day after day against children and women in tents. And they had confirmed targetings. We spoke about them in the past couple of days, but now we have more information being released. So there were multiple reports and videos circulating. I'm going to share some of them with you in this video. One of them was about the ambush carried out by Al-Qassam brigades east of Beit Hanun, the one that we spoke about yesterday. The Palestinian resistance, there were more declarations and reports coming. They called this operation, the Palestinian resistance, breaking the sword that Israel claims to be fighting Gaza with, or the name of the actual genocide campaign that Israel is conducting the operation in Gaza now. They said that the Palestinian resistance, in a telegram message, that the Gaza division, they were attacked with anti-tank missiles, inflicting confirmed casualties. As soon as the support force that rushed to rescue arrived, it was targeted with a 3mm anti-personnel explosive device, killing and wounding its members. In the same context, Al-Qassam brigade said that their fighters targeted the newly established position of the occupied forces in the same area with 4 RPG shells and bombarded it with a number of mortar shells. Israel confirmed that 1 soldier was killed and 4 were wounded in an ambush by the Qassam brigades against an Israeli force in Gaza City. Al-Qassam brigades also said that they had a complex ambush against the Zionist force that had penetrated east of Al-Tufah neighborhood in eastern Gaza City, killing and wounding several of its members. They added that a Merkava 4 tank and a D9 military bulldozer were targeted with 2 Al-Yassin 105 missiles, setting them on fire in the Jabal al-Surani area east of Al-Tufah neighborhood, east of Gaza City. Of course, Israel confirmed that they had 1 person who was killed and 4 were wounded. Of course, that's going to have to be taken. You need to take that with a pinch of salt here, because there was an APC, an armored personnel carrier, targeted. APCs of Israel, they can hold up to 13, 14 people. And the Palestinian resistance confirmed that some of them were set and they were on fire for several hours, meaning that the majority of them were roasted inside. The Palestinian resistance didn't just come up with statements, they came out with videos too. And one of these videos was in relation to the operation that they had in a Tufah area in Gaza. And here's the video.
يتقدم مجاهدون لإنجاز عملية خاطفة مع هذا العدو الغاشم على جبل الصرالي. بسم الله وعلى بركة الله توكلوا المجاهدون. ولعت كبار.
So from under the rubble, over the rubble, in tunnels, not in tunnels, the Palestinian resistance fighters are coming out of nowhere, attacking these child killers inside of the Gaza Strip, committing massacres. Unlike any other massacres being conducted nowadays across the whole world, and they're targeting them heavily with unbelievable accuracy. I mean, the level of accuracy of the Palestinian resistance is something, I mean, beyond comprehension, really. The RPG isn't like a heat-guided missile. It's man-made in Gaza. They make it, called it Yasin 105, and they are targeting them precisely. And they also published another video, the Palestinian resistance. This time was another one in Hayy Tufah area inside of Gaza, and that was the video that they published.
يلا توكل. الله اكبر.
So as we can see from the videos, the levels of accuracy, the fact that the Palestinian resistance has that level of intelligence in these areas that have been so heavily bombed and totally destroyed by the genocide soldiers inside of the Gaza Strip is proving time after time that they are coordinated over the ground, under the ground, and they are facing Israel outright inside of the Gaza Strip everywhere, from the most northern parts next to the Israeli borders to Gaza City, everywhere that Israel destroyed. They're coming from underneath the ground, shooting at them, RPGs before then, targeting them with semi-automatic weapons too, and then disappearing in all of these recordings of the Palestinian resistance. And again, the unbelievable level of accuracy for manual shoulder-held weapons here shows you the level of training that these people had, and the fact that you still have heavily trained people who are experts at what they do, still operating inside of the Gaza Strip, when they also retreat eventually, and Israel does not find them. So intelligence over the ground and under the ground, they're watching, they're recording, they're monitoring for days as well, hours upon hours. Then they are planning the strategy correctly to target them. Then they are implementing their action. Then they are retreating with confirmed targetings as confirmed by the state of Israel. All of this is proving several things. Number one, well, the capability of the Palestinian resistance. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been 17 months since this genocide started, and Benjamin Netanyahu declared that they dismantled 20 brigades of Hamas over a year ago. And we're talking about areas where he declared they were dismantled over a year ago. He said, apart from Rafah, where we have 4 left, these areas are not Rafah, by the way. And talking about the north, the areas that Israel should have been done with, over and done with a very long time ago. All of that accuracy, intelligence, information gathering, strategy, the implementation of the strategy, the accuracy of the implementation of the strategy, the capability, the fact that they are still equipped and still armed with the same arms that they had from the beginning up until now. They're using their own man-made, Gaza-produced bombs and side bombs and explosive devices against the genocide soldiers inside of the Gaza Strip with the Yasin 105 that they also create and manufacture inside of the Gaza Strip. Booby trap tunnels, again, that Israel claimed that they dismantled over a year ago, and outright confronting Israel over the ground. And the reason that all of this is so important, because these images, these videos, for the people who don't believe or cast doubt sometimes, saying that that's it, it's finished, it's done, it's Israel, it's greater Israel. No, ladies and gentlemen, this is Gaza, the very small piece, tiny piece of land. Gaza is not a country, it's not a state, it's a very small, heavily populated area that has been bombarded and destroyed completely, with more levels of TNT landing on them than the entirety of World War II. You're talking about over 4 times the size, or the equivalent of the size, of the bombs that were landed on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then in that case, you're talking about nuclear bombs, the level of destruction. And yet these people are not giving up, neither the people nor their resistance. And that's important to show, because the people who are casting down, well, now you can see the evidence. The evidence is there. The Palestinian resistance is there. Israel is not achieving any of its military objectives in any areas they go into the Gaza Strip. When you talk about control, Israel talking about annexation, calls for, annexing all of the Gaza Strip and now having settlements. All of that is fictional, like the state of Israel and its whole existence and its nationality. Fictional stuff. They try and convince people that they have some sort of a backing and that there is some sort of truth to what they say. Yet these videos come out. Again, they have the capacity to record and edit and publish as well the Palestinian resistance. Imagine all of that happening. How are they doing that? All of that, all this destruction. What does that say? Well, that says the reality that we're hearing about on mainstream media is very, very, very far, if not the absolute opposite of what's happening on the ground. And why is that so? This is the more important question. Why are we not being shown these images and this footage on mainstream media, who are, as if nothing is happening? Well, it's because they want you to believe that Israel, that's it, they're done. They defeated Gaza. They defeated the Palestinian people. It's the stage of the greater state of Israel, when the reality is Israel as a country is crumbling from within. It's eating itself internally. And in any area that they are present inside of the Gaza Strip, they are getting the fiercest type of resistance that they have never faced throughout their whole existence. And these were the main things that I wanted to share with you in this live stream. As usual, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I added some beneficial information for you, and I will see you soon in the next video. Peace, everyone. Salam.